Hi everyone and welcome to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Irene and today I'll show you how to make an antique drum storage box. It is super cute and will look great in vintage arrangements, and of course you can use it for storing craft supplies or Christmas ornaments or anything you want actually, and I'm going to use it for storing yarn. Very soon I'm going to launch a new channel about restoring antique toys, and the very first video will be about restoring an antique doll. I've decided to dress this little boy in winter cloth, so I'm going to knit a sweater and a hat and mittens for him, and as this project is a bit of a role play with very vintage, aesthetically pleasing atmosphere, I needed some nice antique looking storage box for all of my yarn. And I've decided to use an old box that was laying around for a couple of years in my workspace and to make a vintage drum out of it. First, I'll make the hoops that drums have at the top and at the bottom. I'm cutting several stripes out of corrugated cardboard. Here you want the corrugation to run across the stripes to be able to wrap them around the box easily. Actually, the sides of the lid look like a drum hoop already, but I want more volume here, and I'm making all the stripes a little bit wider than the lid sides height to make the hoop sit above the top surface, like on a real drum. After that, I'm hot gluing the hoop first to the lid. I'm applying 2 layers of cardboard here to make the hoop thicker. As you can see, it rises about ½ inch over the lid surface, making a nice little rim just like real drums have. And as the pieces I have are not long enough, I'm trying to arrange the seams in different places in each layer to make the hoop nice and accurate. I'm applying the same hoop around the bottom of the box to finish the drum shape. To hide the corrugated cardboard edges and to make it look more smooth, I'll attach thick paper strips over the cardboard hoops. I've made the paper strips about 2 times wider than the cardboard hoops, and after attaching them over the hoops, I'm cutting the extra paper on both sides with scissors every ½ inch. And after that, I'm applying more glue and bending the extra inwards for a finished look. I'm using white glue here as it's great for gluing paper. You can also do without thick paper and apply the little newspaper scraps in several layers over the cardboard, soaking them in white glue for making a papier-mâché hoop. After the glue has dried, I'm painting the box dark brown. I'm using homemade chalk paint for that because the box is very smooth and regular acrylic paint will not hold well on the box surface. Next, I'll prepare the hulls for a rope. I found this nylon rope in my stock. I like its look and I'm going to attach it to the box like this. So I'll need the holes for the rope both on the top and on the bottom parts of the box. I'm making the holes with a puncher of a suitable size for all of them to be the same size and to sit right under the top hoop when the box is closed. I've made 8 holes like this. Be sure to calculate their position accurately before punching to have them positioned nicely and evenly. At the bottom of the box, I'm placing the holes right over the hoop and I'm making them for each bottom hole to sit in between the 2 upper ones to be able to make nice straping later. After the holes are ready, I'm outlining the drum pattern. I'll make 4 vertical stripes dividing the drum into 4 sections, and I'm placing these stripes right where the top holes are situated to be perfectly symmetrical. I'm making the stripes about 1 inch wide, and I'm also outlining very thin stripes along the sides of each wider stripe. Then I'm covering these stripes with painter's tape for painting the big sections of the drum. But before painting, I need to prepare the chalk paint for that. I'm using the recipe I've already shown you in one of my videos. This is 1 part white clay, 1 part water and 3 or 4 parts acrylic paint. I'm making several shades for the drum, a beige shade for the drum top and green, red and light terracotta ones for the sides. So, first I'm painting the bigger sections. I'm painting 2 of them sitting opposite each other green and the other 2 red. Here I'm not trying to make an even layer of paint as I want an old drum with paint chipped and worn, so some darker spots and brush strokes are just fine. And I'm painting the top of the cover beige to mimic a drum snare. I've tried to make a very worn light leather color and I'm painting just the insides without touching the inner hoop side. Then I'm removing the painter's tape and reapplying it to border the white stripes in between the big sections. And I'm painting the stripes a light rusty brown shade. I wanted them to look like bare wood, so I've tried to make long brush strokes to mimic wood texture a little. Not sure I've succeeded though. I'm applying the painter's tape over the hoop sides, leaving just about 5 mm off the edges, and I'm painting these edges cream to get a thin outlining pattern over the hoop. This really makes it look more finished. I'm painting the outlining first on the cover and then reusing the same tape for the bottom hoop. I'm a bit of a miser here as this painter's tape brand is really costly, but I love how it works, so I'm trying to reuse it for as long as it works. Here, as you can see, I'm also not painting it very accurately, leaving small bold spots and brush strokes here and there for an extra aged look. If you want it to look more smooth, you can apply paint with a sponge here. To finish decorating the hoops, I've decided to add little raised elements. First, I'll make texture paint. I'm mixing a spoonful of white glue with a spoonful of bronze paint and adding baby powder till I get a nice and thick paste. Then I'm attaching a stencil to the hoop, fixing it with 2 pieces of the painter's tape to sit still and applying the texture paste with a spatula in quite a thick and even layer over the stencil. After that, I'm removing the stencil immediately, trying not to move it sideways while removing. I've made 4 elements like this on the lid, then I've removed the painter's tape from the bottom hoop and added 4 more elements to the bottom hoop, placing them in between the wide rusty stripes on the drum body. I was afraid the paint would chip off if I placed the painter's tape over the freshly painted areas too early, so I let it sit a little longer and meanwhile I decided to decorate the insides. I'll use gift wrapping craft paper for that. I think it goes so well for the box lining. I'm cutting a piece of paper a little wider than the box height is, bending the extra edge and cutting this little edge every half an inch. I'm also cutting 2 round pieces for lining the bottom and the lid insides. And to be able to attach the paper without any wrinkles or creases, I'm placing it on a transparent packaging film face down, spraying it with water and stretching it well. Paper is getting a bit bigger in every dimension when wet. This is why wrinkles appear, and if you straighten the paper when wet, you'll be able to apply it without getting any single crease. So after stretching, I'm applying white glue onto the paper and placing it into the box right on the film and attaching it to place. I've made 2 pieces of paper for covering the sides to be able to manipulate the paper more easily, and I'll refresh the side holes with a puncher in the lining after the paper gets dry. I'm doing just the same with the bottom and the top round lining pieces. Now the outer sides I have dried thoroughly and I can finish painting the outlining. I'm removing and reapplying the painter's tape. Here I'm reusing it once again, and now I'm leaving thin stripes open at both sides of the wide rusty brown stripes, also about 5 millimeters wide, just as I did on the hoops. And I'm painting these little stripes cream. After it's dry, I'm removing the tape and we're done with the painting. Now I'll age the drum. I'm sanding its surface with 320 grit sandpaper. On the cover, I'm making it look more worn with a couple of dark spots by chipping off some paint. And on the sides, I'm making the softer effect, just sanding off some paint in places. In the end, I'm sealing the box with clear wax. I'm applying it with a brush and then wiping off the excess with a soft cloth. Now the drum looks just like a wooden one. Time to attach the rope. I'm threading it into one of the upper holes. Here I wasn't sure how much I'm going to need, so I left some extra rope inside. Then I'm threading it back inside into the nearest bottom hole. I'm making a knot inside the box, leaving the outside stitch a bit loose, and threading the rope back outwards into the same bottom hole. The knot will not let the rope come out completely. Then I'm threading the rope into the next upper hole, also leaving the stitch a bit loose and making the knot inside again. And I'm threading the rope outwards using the same upper hole again. It can be tricky to do if the hole is not big, but pliers can help in this case. Now we can join the two ropes with a clip to hold them together and thread the tip into the next bottom hole. Then make a knot again and so on until you thread all the drum box like this, like stringing a shoelace. Actually, this one is not very accurate, as on real drums you would string the top and the bottom hoops together, but I couldn't do the stringing through the top hoop for obvious reasons. I wouldn't be able to ever open the box then, so I've decided to just add the stringing between the hoops. Of course, you can also just paint the stringing, but using a real rope really adds to the look here. At the very end, I'm tying the two rope tips together and melting them a little to avoid fraying. Next, I'm sewing together the ropes in places where I put the clips earlier. I'm going to add braces here. These are little leather tabs or ties that bind the drum rope together, and they are used to tension the drum for use. Whatever this means, I've just googled what they are for. But before attaching the braces, I'll age the rope as well. It's too shiny and light-colored for the old drum. I'm dry brushing the rope brown, and that's it. I'm cutting the braces out of a brown leather scrap, placing them on the stringing and gluing the tips together. I'm using contact glue here. And to give them a more finished look, I'm punching 2 holes in each brace and threading a thin twine there. Then making a knot and also knotting the twine ends together, making a kind of decorative tassels. I'm edging the cover with duck wax a little and also edging the braces and the twine tassels to go well with the rest. And we're finally done. I think such a drum box is a perfect choice for storing Christmas ornaments. Actually, you can store them inside the box and also place this nice little drum under your Christmas tree. It will look great as decor or a small tree stand too. Just look how beautiful it is, and the colors are perfect for Christmas arrangements actually. But you can also use such a box for storing any items you want, like me. I have already told you that I'll use the box for storing yarn and for filming nice vintage videos with it. I think it will really add to the final look. Well, I hope you liked today's project. By the way, I think this vintage drum will go very well for a vintage circus theme. Last year I made several videos which could go into this vintage circus theme, like Christmas ornaments. If you haven't seen these videos, I'll link them below. Thanks for being here, and we'll see you in my next one. Bye!